Hello NEET UG aspirants, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss some tricky MCQs from NCERT chapter 1, The Living World. I have tried to cover all the possible points which can be used to frame MCQ, and therefore through this video we shall be covering all the important aspects of this chapter. We shall take up the questions one by one, and I shall be giving you 10 seconds to think of the correct option, and then we shall discuss the answer. So let's begin. So guys, our first question is systematic and monumental description of life forms brought in out of necessity, detailed systems of identification, nomenclature and classification. What is the biggest spin-off of such studies? Your options are: option A, recognition of horizontal similarities between organisms; option B, recognition of vertical similarities between organisms; option C, conservation of biodiversity; and option D, all of the above. So guys, let's understand this question first. Okay, systematic and monumental description of life forms. When the man started to study life forms in a systematic manner, he came to understand a few things. Okay, he came to understand that all organisms, be it A, B, C or D, who are existing at the same point of time on earth, okay, they all share similarities with one another. Since they are existing on the same timeline, on one horizontal timeline, this is called as horizontal similarity. In a similar way, human beings came to know that the organism which existed in the past, let's suppose there was an organism E which existed in the past, okay, that organism shared similarities with the organism which are existing in the present, such as an organism B, okay, and by that derivation the human being also realized that the organism which are going to come in future, okay, let's suppose if they are also going to share some similarities, okay. So since this timeline is in a vertical fashion, so this is called as vertical similarity, okay. Now since the man started to study life forms in a systematic way, he realized the horizontal similarity and vertical similarity, okay. When man realized that the organism who are existing in the present and who existed in the past are related to one another and they share similarities with each other, man came to realize that each and every organism need to be protected, okay. Therefore he understood the concept of conservation of biodiversity, okay. So moving back to our question, the answer here is all of the above. Clear? Okay, let's move towards next question. Which of the following statements regarding Ernst Mayr is true? He is called the Darwin of 21st century. He won the Triple Crown of Biology. He is titled Alexander Agassiz Professor of Botany Emeritus. And the final option is all of the above. Okay, getting back to the answer, let's understand this question first, okay. Ernst Mayr, Sir Ernst Mayr was called the Darwin of, he was called the Darwin of 20th century, okay, not 21st century. I understand that many of you might be thinking that the option is D, but let's look at all the options one by one, okay. Ernst Mayr sir won 3 prizes in biology, which are together called as Triple Crown of Biology. And those 3 prizes are: first is Balden Prize, next is Crafoord Prize, and third one is International Prize for Biology. Okay, so this statement is true. Okay, let's look at the third statement. He is titled Alexander Agassiz Professor of Botany Emeritus. Everything about this statement is true except that he was titled Alexander Agassiz Professor of Zoology, not Botany. Okay, he worked mainly on animals. Okay, so this is the confusing point. If you haven't read your NCERT in proper depth, you will get confused in this type of questions. Okay, so the answer here is not all of the above. The answer here is B. Okay, only this statement is true. This is wrong because it has to be 20th century. Okay, so moving to our third question. Let's see, what is the number of species that are known to mankind? Option A 1.7 to 1.8 million. Option B 1.7 to 1.8 billion. Option C 1.7 to 1.8 trillion. And option D 1.7 to 1.8 quadrillion. Okay, moving back to our discussion for this question. If you will go back to my previous lectures which I have taken on the living world, you will see that I have emphasized this point quite a lot of times, that the total number of species that have been known to mankind is 1.7 to 1.8 million. Million. It is not billion. It is not trillion. Neither it is quadrillion. Okay, if you haven't studied your NCERT in depth, you will get caught up in these types of question. Okay, so because see, most of you might, or I think a few of you might be just remembering the numericals 1.7 to 1.8, but if the examiner shall try to play smart, he will give the same figure all across and he will change your suffix. Okay, so the answer here is A. Moving back to our next question, what is biodiversity? Option A, number of organisms present on earth. Types of organisms present on earth. Option C is both of the above, and option D is none of the above. Okay, coming back, this question is a direct question from NCERT. It's a direct line. Okay, the line is biodiversity refers to both number of organisms on earth and also the types of organisms. So both of these factors are taken into account when defining biodiversity. So our option here is both of the above. Okay, moving to our next question. Which of the following is the correct representation of a binomial nomenclature? Okay, and these are your options. Option A, B, C, and D. Okay, before we get back to the question, we have to first revise the rules of binomial nomenclature. Okay, so what are the rules of binomial nomenclature? The first rule is every scientific name has two parts. Okay, first part is genus and second part is specific epithet. Okay, rule number second, scientific names are either derived from Latin or they are directly taken from Latin. Okay, so when anything is taken from Latin, when it is printed, it has to be in italics. Therefore, the scientific names when printed should be in italics. Okay, and when handwritten, each word, two parts, each part should be separately underlined. Okay, rule number third, the first letter of the genus has to be capital letter. And rest all the letters in the name has to be small letters. Okay, okay, so let's get back to our question. Let's see at the option number A. Okay, so here, since we are looking at a print media, so we have to understand that the scientific name here is printed. Okay, looking at the option A, does it have two parts? Yes, it has two parts. Okay, it has two parts. Does the first letter of the genus is a capital letter? Yes, it is a capital letter. Are rest of the letters of the name small? No. Here I is capital. The first letter of a species is not capital. It is small. So this is the wrong option. Looking at option B, does it have two part? Yes, it has two part. Okay. Is it in italics? Yes, it is in italics. Is the first letter of the word genus a capital letter? Yes. Are rest of the letters small letters? No. So this is also a wrong answer. Okay. This is also a wrong answer. Let's look at the option number C. Does it have two parts? Yes, it has two parts. Okay. Is the first letter of genus capital letter? Yes, it is. Are rest of the letters small letters? Of course, they are. Since it is printed, is the name in italics? Of course, it is in italics. So this is the correct answer. This is our correct option. Looking at option D, I told you since it is in a print media, it has not to be underlined. When it would have been handwritten, if I would have handwritten it like this, Mangifera indica, then I need to separately underline it. But if it is printed, it need not to be underlined. Okay, clear about this? Moving to our next question. Which statement about Carolus Linnaeus is false? Option A, he wrote Systema Naturae. Option B, binomial nomenclature system was given by him. Option C, he gave the five kingdom classification. And option D, he was first to describe the species mango. Okay, let's discuss this question. If we will go back to my shorts, I have published one short regarding Sir Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, but still we will discuss it here. The title of Carolus Linnaeus publication was Systema Naturae. It was Systema Naturae. Okay, Carolus Linnaeus sir gave binomial nomenclature. He was the one to introduce binomial nomenclature, and therefore all the names that are given to organism before Carolus Linnaeus sir are not accepted as scientific names, because he started binomial nomenclature or the system of scientific nomenclature. Okay. During the time of Carolus Linnaeus sir, there was concept of two kingdom classification. Okay, it was when R.H. Whitaker sir realized that all organisms cannot fall into either animal or plants, because some organisms exhibited character that were similar to both plants and animals. So he introduced five kingdom classification. R.H. Whitaker sir. Okay, and the last concept, which is something that you have to read your NCERT and know, it is hidden in the NCERT, that he was the first to describe mango. Okay, therefore mango is also written as Mangifera indica Linn. Okay, so let's get back to our question. All the options here are correct except that he gave the five kingdom classification, because at his time only two kingdom classification existed. So this is our answer. Okay, moving on to our next question. This is a direct question from your NCERT. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into option A, convenient categories based on cellular and biomolecular characters. Both convenient and complex categories based on cellular and biomolecular characters. Both convenient and complex categories based on cellular, biomolecular, and easily observable characters. Option D, convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. So, discussing this question, if you haven't read your NCERT in great depth, you will definitely get caught up in this kind of question, because you might be thinking here that the option is C. If your answer is C, then you are wrong. Okay, let us understand the concept of classification. classification was introduced. Why it was introduced? Think. It was introduced to simplify matters. Okay, it was introduced to simplify the study of organisms. So when you have to simplify something, you try to keep it simple. You try to look at complex feature. You don't try to look at complex features. Okay, you have to keep it simple. So actually we classify organism based on some simple observable. You don't have to brainstorm or do kind of rocket science like stuff to classify something. Okay, some simple observable characters. Okay, now let us get back to our question. Convenient categories based on cellular and biomolecular character. See, looking at cellular and biomolecular character makes things complex because you can't look at cell with a naked eye. It is not a simple procedure. Okay, so of course dividing into convenient categories fits, but based on cellular and biomolecular character doesn't fit. So this is not our option. Okay, both convenient and complex. Since this option has complex categories, no, we have told it strictly that the purpose is to simplify things, it is not to complicate them. So this option is out. This option is also out because option C is the most complex process. Okay, remaining is our option D. Of course, dividing into convenient categories, that is one form of simplicity based on some easily observable characters, something that you can easily say and put something into a category. Like, let's look at one of the simplest classification of plant and animals. You can simply say that it is a plant because it cannot move from one place to another and it has life. Okay, it has life, it cannot move from one place to another, it is a plant. It has life, it can move from one place to another, it is animal. This is something that you can very easily observe. Even in animals, if you have to define two animals, okay, if you have to define a cat and a dog, you can easily look at them and say, okay, this is cat and this is a dog. You don't have to brainstorm or do some kind of rocket science of stuff. Okay, so our correct option is D. The categories have to be convenient and they should be based on easily observable characters. Okay, if you haven't read your NCERT properly, you will get stuck up in this kind of question. So moving to our next question. Identify the false statement. Option A, the principles and criteria for nomenclature of plants are given in ICBN. Plant is a taxon while wheat is not because it comes under plant. The description of living organisms including human beings began much later in human history. Nomenclature is only possible after identification. Okay, let's get back to our question and the discussion part. If you haven't studied your NCERT in great detail, you will again get stuck up in this kind of question. Okay, so let us understand a few things. The principles and criteria for nomenclature of plant are given in ICBN. Okay, this statement is correct. because International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, that is for plants. Okay, this is, I think, most of you would easily rule out as a correct statement. Okay, plant is a taxon while wheat is not, because it comes under plant. See, it is very obvious that wheat comes under plant. Okay, so just because wheat comes under plant doesn't mean it is not a separate category. When we are talking of plant, plant in itself is a category, in itself is a taxon. But when we are talking about wheat, wheat in itself is a taxon. It in itself is a category. Although it comes under a category called plant, but in itself it is a category. Okay, so wheat is a taxon in itself, similarly as a plant is a taxon in itself. Okay, so this statement is wrong. Okay, just because wheat comes under plant doesn't mean it is not a separate category. Okay, it is a category in itself. Okay, so wheat and plant both are taxons. This is a direct example that I have taken from your NCERT, where the NCERT states strictly that plant is a taxon and wheat is a taxon. Similarly, animal is a taxon and dog is a taxon, because when we are describing a dog, we are describing a dog as a different entity all over, like we are making another category, although it is a part of the category, a bigger category called animal, but it is a category in itself as well. And every category is called a taxon. Okay, it is not about hierarchy, it is just about it has a category, so it will be a taxon. Okay, and the plural of taxon is taxa. Clear about this? Now moving on to the third option. The description of living organism including human beings began much later in human history. I presume that a lot of you might be caught up in this option. Many of you might be thinking that the description of living organism must have began much earlier in human history. No, it the description of living organism including human beings began much later in human history, because man started to understand the living organism first. It took a lot of time for him to understand, then to describe them in a systematic manner took much more time. So it actually began much later in human history. Okay, this option is correct, it is not wrong, it is a correct option. Okay, no, looking at our option D, nomenclature is only possible after identification. This is of course a correct statement. If you are going to name something, you have to describe it. Like, let's suppose we are going to name an organism as dog. Okay, you can't go out into the environment and call any organism a dog. It should have a feature. Okay, some identifying features should be present. Should be present to call it a dog. Therefore, nomenclature is only possible after identification. Okay, you have to identify, you have to describe, you have to do the identification. Okay, let's suppose you are standing in a group of 10 people and someone has to come, okay, and recognize you by your that you are XYZ. He has to identify you first. He will have to look at your features, then he will know. Okay, and then he will be able to pick you up. So identification is only possible, sorry, nomenclature is only possible after identification. You need to describe the organism before you name that organism. Okay, So this is also a correct statement. Okay, so our wrong false statement is statement number B. Okay, statement B, this is our false statement. Okay, moving on to our next question. Identify the correct statement. Systematics since the beginning included identification, nomenclature, and classification, along with taking into account the evolutionary relationships between organisms. Option B, the word systematics is derived from a Latin word. Option C, the triple crown of biology includes Balzan Prize, International Prize for Biology, and Nobel Prize for Biology. And option D is all of the above. Okay, getting back to our question. Systematics since the beginning included identification, nomenclature, and classification, which is actually a part of taxonomy, along with taking into account the evolutionary relationships between organisms. No, this is not a correct statement. Initially, systematics took into account the evolutionary relationships between the organism. Later, it started to include the taxonomy as well. Okay, so this is a wrong statement. The word systematics is derived from a Latin word. Let's look at the word from which systematics is actually derived. Okay, that word is given in your NCERT. The word systematics is derived from the word systematics came from the word, yes, systema. Okay, it came from the word systema, and systema is a Latin word. Systema is a Latin word. So this is a correct statement. What about the third statement? We discussed earlier in this video about Ernst Mayr sir, that he had won the triple crown of biology, and we also discussed what the triple crown of biology includes. Let's see. The triple crown of biology includes, let's look at it again. One is Balzan Prize, other is Crafoord Prize, and the third one is International Prize for Biology. Okay, looking back to our third statement, it includes the Balzan Prize. Yes, it includes. It includes the International Prize for Biology. Yes, it does. And it includes the Nobel Prize for Biology. No, it doesn't. I understand most of you might be thinking that this is a correct statement because Nobel Prize for Biology is a big prize. It should be included in triple crown of biology, but no, it is not. Okay, here should be Crafoord Prize for it to be a correct statement. Okay, so this is also a wrong statement. So I understand a few of you might have thought of the answer as the option D, but no, D is not the correct answer. The correct option is our option B. Systematics is derived from systema, which is a Latin word. Moving to our next question. What forms the basis of modern taxonomic studies? Option A, external features of an organism. Option B, internal features of an organism. Option C, ecological information of an organism. And option D, all of the above. Okay, coming back to the discussion part. If you have read your NCERT properly, again I am emphasizing it. NCERT clearly states, okay, and of course it is a fact that's why it is stating, taxonomy takes into account almost all the detail of organism. In short, you have to know, okay, almost all the detail, almost all aspects. Okay, it includes the external features like how the organism is looking from the outside. Then it also includes the internal feature, how the organism is from the inside. Okay, it includes the living processes. It includes the developmental process of an organism. And it also takes into account the evolutionary aspect. And it takes into account the ecological aspect, how the organism is interacting with its environment. Okay, ecological aspect of the organism. We take into account everything to classify an organism into a category. Okay, therefore the correct option here is option D, all of the above. Okay, no confusion about this. Let us move to our next question. Which of the following best describes a species? Option A, a group of organisms with fundamental similarities. A group of organisms with distinct morphological similarities. A group of organisms with distinct cellular similarities. A group of organisms with distinct reproductive similarities. Coming to our discussion part. See, if you will look at our options here, we have studied in the previous lectures that to put an organism into a category called as species, it has to have some fundamental similarities. The word here is fundamental, and I have also explained. Okay, if you will go back and look at my video on species, there I have explained it in detail what does fundamental similarities means. Okay, so putting it in short, fundamental similarities means that the organism should have a few things that should exist in all organism of that species. For example, they should have a distinct morphological similarity. That is a correct statement. Okay, they should also have a distinct cellular similarities. Like when you are looking at the cells under the microscope, all the organisms should have similar cellular characteristics. All the organisms should have distinct reproductive similarities. Okay, so if you will see, option B is correct. Option C is also correct and option D is also correct. Okay, but you have to look at the question. Okay, the question is asked which of the following best, the word here is best, so the best description is by the option A, because fundamental similarities includes all of these: morphological similarities, cellular similarities, reproductive similarities. Okay, all of these. So this is the best description of an species. Okay, all of these are from your NCERT. There is nothing beyond it. Okay, if you are getting caught up in any question, I need not repeat. Okay, moving on to our next question. Which of the following, excuse me, which of the following is the correct order of descending taxonomic hierarchy? Okay, option A, kingdom, order, class, family. Option B, kingdom, class, family, order. Option C, kingdom, family, order, species. And option D, class, order, family, genus. Okay, coming on to the discussion part. If you will go back to my lecture on the taxonomic categories, okay, there I have given a mnemonic to remember the order of the taxonomic hierarchy. Okay, the mnemonic was dear King Phillips came over for good soup. Okay, and the first letter of every word is also the first letter of our taxonomic category. Okay, it is in this order. This is the highest rank and this is the lowest rank. So D for domain. Domain is not written in your NCERT, but you have to know, because standard taxonomy includes the rank called domain. You will find it everywhere else apart from your NCERT. Okay, you should know domain. Okay, next order is king, kingdom. Then P is for phylum or division in case of plant. C is for class, O is for order, F is for family, G is for genus, and S is for species. You have to just remember one statement: dear King Phillips came over for good soup. Now let us get back to our question. Kingdom, order, class, family. Okay, this is wrong order. Okay, everything here is correct except these two. Class should come before, order should come after. Okay, kingdom, class, family, order. This is also wrong. Family comes after order. Okay, order doesn't come after family. Kingdom, family, order, species. This is also wrong. Order comes after family. Okay, so obviously our option D is the correct option, but let us look at it. Dear King Phillips came over for good soup. Okay, it is in order and it is in descending order, so this is our correct option. Moving to our another question. Identify the correct statement. Okay, option A, potato belongs to the order Solanaceae. Option B, in case of plants, classes with few similar characters are assigned a taxonomic category called phylum. Option C, families are classified based on both reproductive and vegetative characters for plants. And option D, all of the above. Coming back to our discussion, okay. Potato comes under Solanaceae. This part is actually correct, but Solanaceae is a family, okay. In case of plants, we use the rank called as division. It is not phylum. Phylum is used for animals, okay. In case of plants, when we are putting plants into the rank called family, we take into character both vegetative characters, we take into account both vegetative characters as well as reproductive characters. Now let's get back to our question, okay. Potato belongs to the order Solanaceae. Everything about this statement is correct except the word order. Solanaceae is a family, it is not an order. This word makes this statement wrong, okay. In case of plants, classes with few similar characters are assigned a taxonomic category called phylum. No, we discussed it, okay. It is called as division. So this is also a wrong statement. Families are classified based on both reproductive and vegetative characters for plant. This is the correct statement, okay. So if you have thought of as option D, then you need to go back and read your NCERT properly, okay. You need to refine your concepts. Moving on to our next question. Which of the following is an example of family? Option A, Sapindaceae. Option B, Anacardiaceae. Option C, Dicotyledone. And option D, Angiospermae. Moving on to our discussion part, okay. If you will remember, I have taught you in my lecture, and if you have read your NCERT, you must be knowing, okay. Generally, for plants, families end with the suffix AC. This is simple to know. If you know this, then you have solved this question. And for animals, it ends with the suffix id, okay. Ide. It ends with the suffix ide. So getting back to our question, the answer is B. That is obvious. And one interesting thing about this question is all these categories are about our beloved mango plant, okay. Sapindaceae is what? It is the order. Dicotyledone is the class Angiospermae, yes, it is the division, and of course plant is the kingdom. Beloved mango plant. Let's see what we have next. This brings us to our final slide, take home message. Okay, so guys, we have discussed quite possible conceptual MCQs that can be made from your NCERT, and I think NCERT is just enough for you to know to score good in your exams. But I have tried to cover all the concepts of NCERT in these questions. I suppose that if you have got stuck up in any question, then you should go back and read your NCERT. It means you haven't read your NCERT properly. If you are reading all kind of worldly stuff, but if you haven't read your NCERT properly, it is all useless. It is just useless. Okay. So the take home message is NCERT should be well understood and not just memorized. Okay. You don't have to just mug up, because all the questions will be not direct questions. Okay. The questions will be from NCERT. Okay. But every question will not be a direct question or a direct line. You have to apply the concept that has been given in NCERT. Okay. NCERT should be at your fingertips. There is no confusion about it. Okay. For an aspirant, NCERT is the Bible. That is something that you have to know, we have to know, and you have to know. Okay. Revise this video every time you study the living world. I guess if you will go through this video, it will revise all your important concepts, because I think I've covered all the important concepts which can be taken into account while framing a question. And every time you feel you know NCERT, there is always one more reading needed to be done. Okay. So reading NCERT is never enough. It is never enough. You always need to give it one more reading. Okay. So guys, thank you for being with me. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, so that I can keep making such videos for you again and again. Okay. Thank you. Take care. You guys have been a good audience.